Guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I wanted to actually just bring you along and show you a couple testing tips to show you how to verify or identify if an electric water pump is the problem or there's something else going on with it when you get the error message for the water pump not communicating. For those of you that aren't that familiar with it, this is this one particularly, it's a 15328. But since '07, BMW's implemented electric water pump on their 6-cylinder engines. This one's no different, even though it's 15, same setup. And this one's actually a 4-cylinder, but again, no different. The problem is that they're common to go out, but either they can go out just from failure or they cannot operate due to something else affecting the water pump. Obviously, they're going to be controlled by the DME, which is the engine computer, but they are also tied into a communication network that I've seen that take them out as far as trying to operate when the pump is still good and operational. So, just quick testing tips to help you not get lost, and I'll get you set up on the scope, show you what I'm talking about. And naturally, for starters, we'll go ahead and show you what the trouble code is, and just like I'm sure many times over, common issue, this is a message that can come up. There are other water pump related trouble codes. I think one that's described as the water pump being blocked, meaning it doesn't, I guess, spin, but this is one of the many electric water pump trouble codes that can come up. This trouble code in particular is referring to what they call a LIN message. That is part of that communication network that I was talking about. It expects to see signals talking back from the water pump. And to show you the basically wiring diagrams or the makeup. And just like any other control module in today's vehicles or any component with a module in it, in order to condemn a module or the component, there's a few things that you have to have. You have to have all your powers, your grounds, and your communication lines be all operational with no issues. And in some other cases with some particular networks, they require what they call a wake-up circuit, which is basically another power to the module that just literally basically wakes up the module and tells it to start operating. And so here's our water pump. There's our ground with a thick fat wire. If you look there, it says 6.0 above the BR. That is the thickness of the wire. As far as BMW diagrams, they label the thickness in a metric form to tell you to help identify the wires. And then here, the red, it's a power feed constant. Again, big fat wire. 6.0, these are going to be related to running the actual motor as well as helping provide power to the module portion. Here on this brown wire is the one that they refer to as for the LIN. That is that communication line. And then here, and then the thickness is 0.3 it looks like. It's hard to tell. So that's a smaller, thinner wire. So you know it's not going to carry any heavy load. And then if you see this white wire here, that is referred to, they've got labeled WPU right there, or U_WP. So that's your wake-up circuit. And that's coming from the DME. This communication is from the DME. And so you have to have power, ground, communication, and your wake-up circuit in order for this to operate properly. And so what I am going to do is tap into this line, this line, this line, and then I'm going to use this one as the ground for all of those. And I'm going to use the scope to see what signals we have on those three lines, and then obviously using the ground. Okay, so I've got the scope running. The key is off. It's been off for a while, so we're just at our constant readings when the vehicle is off. As far as the blue channel, that is going to be our main big fat red wire. The green is going to be the bus communication, and then the red is going to be our wake up signal. So just steady state, key off. We obviously have elevated levels on the blue and green. I'll just get you a quick shot of that for a known good for you guys. So we've got just under 12 and almost 11 on those two. And so what I'm going to do now is head over, open the door, and key on the car. Alright, so you can already see what we got going on. I'll key it on. And now we'll pause that. And we'll take a look. So right away we can see that our blue stays up there. It's constant. And we obviously have bus communication going on. Now if you remember, our trouble code is related to our LIN bus. It's saying that it's not seeing the water pump. We clearly have activity, and then the red never comes off ground. It's not elevated. It's not powering up. Red channel is our wake up signal. Remember what I told you is that modules that do require and use a wake up, if they don't get that power up signal from another module, it won't wake up and it won't start operating. And so what this is now beginning to look like, that our water pump is not operating because it's not being woken up. And so you could start to think that a water pump is not going to be the problem. It's going to be the source of the wake up. We do see LIN bus activity, and to explain that, if you were maybe thinking a LIN bus issue, maybe this would have stayed flat up top or come down and stay flat at the bottom, meaning kind of no communication. But with what we are seeing is talk from the DME going to the water pump. What we can't see right now is messages going back on this LIN from the water pump because it's not woken up. So despite the fact we have LIN codes, we still have LIN activity because that's the only way we can talk to the water pump. And what I haven't showed you yet is the setup I've got going on in order to try to identify the problem. Now if you could see there, that is a known good used water pump. And if you look there, I've got a second known good used water pump. And what I can't show you is the original one is still bolted to the engine, and my plug connection is on that one that's hanging. Right now, we are trying to operate or see if that known good used operates. So by showing you that, hanging some known good parts on there, seeing that those still don't operate, it's easy to get confused and call a bad DME, which is the source of the wake up signal, to turn on the water pump. And another thing I did want to point out, I'm not going to show on camera, but trust me, I had two scanners. You can go into DME, and it's common practice to try to do something from a scanner point of view before even getting so far deep into testing, is to go into active test, turn on the water pump, and simply try to listen, see if it runs. Now, both scanners that I have here, one's an Autel based, one's a launch based. I've tried a top-down base, which is pretty much launch software. All of those in the active test for the water pump it says that it fails to operate the actuation. I'll tell you right now, that is a scanner issue. All 3 different ones doing the same thing. I almost got burnt by this before in the past, but that's when I remembered on this one that for some reason these aftermarket scanners do not have the ability to actually run and turn on the pump, even though it's listed in the active test. So please keep that in mind. And so with that, lastly, to try to determine if the DME is a problem, you would want to check that starting point to the end point on that wake up line, making sure it's not a broken wire issue. I have had them be broken down at the water pump connector, but on this one, it's not. And so before you make a costly mistake on calling a bad DME, let me show you what you should do to finalize the testing on this system. So I'm going to go in the car, and there is, if you scour the internet, there are manual ways of turning on the water pump, and so that's what I'm going to do via the gas pedal. And there you go. Let's stop this so I can show you. If we look right here in the red channel, we kicked it on at that point, and now let me show you that water pump. Hopefully you can hear that the water pump is spinning. Okay, so on this setup, you cannot make a call on either one of the components until you try to test when the pump should be actuated. If you remember, key on, the wake up signal was dead. But if you think about it, if you're just keying on, the DME and vehicle don't need to have the pump running, at least when it's cold. So that's the reason why the computer, the DME, is smart enough to not wake up the water pump, but it can give us or you guys a false sense of bad DME or pump not running, so on and so forth. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to show you guys. Make sure you test when in its actuated state, when it should be running. Now on this one, just like every other one out there, it will get a water pump, we'll replace it, so on and so forth, bleed it, clear the codes, and get the car good, done, and gone. But for you guys, I hope you got something out of it. Pay attention to how you're testing, when you're testing, where you're testing, and hopefully it gets you out of a bind or from making a bad call. With that, thank you for watching as always. That's all on this one, and we will catch you on the next one. Just one quick last one that I wanted to show you. You can also just quickly start the car, because that's when it does need the water pump, and you can see again, wake up signal comes up. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.